Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Jennifer Marievo, where I teach you different ways that you can make money online working from home. I'm super excited to share today's video with you. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to create minimalistic digital portraits using Adobe Illustrator. If you don't have a copy of Illustrator, you can click on the link in the description below, and Adobe offers so many different monthly plans so you can try it out. Right now, this is a really popular service. People are hiring freelancers to create custom minimal portraits for them to use as wall art or give as custom gifts or even in their own company logos. I'm going to show you where you can sell your services as a designer and show you step-by-step how to create a minimalist portrait. I'll also show you where you can go to get free royalty-free images that you can use as a demo and use in your portfolio. So before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel Jennifer Marievo for more videos on how to make money online and how to become a work-from-home freelancer. So let's get started. Okay, so before I get into teaching you exactly how to create these illustrations, I want to show you some examples of people that are having a lot of success selling these types of illustrations and artwork. For example, this shop here has over 1,200 sales, and this person is selling them for $10 for one person. So if this was just the mother, they would be charging $10, and then they charge an additional $1 or $2 per extra person. What I like about this shop here is that they have put ready in just 6 hours on their cover image. And that way, if someone was looking to buy something as a last minute gift or they wanted it right away, they would likely want to hire someone like this because they know they're going to get their result very fast. And I think that is why this person has had so much luck. You can see all these different keywords they put in: digital portrait, faceless illustration, printable art, personalized gift, faceless digital art. Here's another example. This person has over 3,400 sales. Again, these are very simple, basic images that you are creating, and this person is even charging more. And you can see how much this person is charging much more for their work, and that's probably because they're so popular with their sales. But again, these images aren't very difficult. I'm going to teach you how to create these. Here's another one. This one is a bit more complex with the designs, but again, all of this is things you can do on Illustrator. This person, again, has over 3,000 sales. And here's another one with almost 1,300 sales. And what I like about this is they've put the hauls. So this would be a cool gift for someone who's just got married or for someone who's just moved into a new home. You can also see that they have different pet portraits as well. If you want to get started on Etsy, you can go to the description below and I will link you to my playlist teaching you all about how to set up your own shop on Etsy. I sell digital PDFs on Etsy and I've made probably now over $12,000 or $13,000 selling printables on my Etsy shop. You can also sell this sort of artwork on Fiverr. There's all sorts of different gigs. For example, this one. Now on Fiverr, people are charging much less and they're doing similar sorts of jobs as the people on Etsy, but they are charging a lot less money. I think people are more likely to use Etsy. A lot of teachers and moms use Etsy. They're not as familiar with Fiverr because Fiverr is more targeted towards marketing. So I think Etsy is a great place to start to set up your own shop. But if you're in a country where setting up a shop in Etsy is difficult, then definitely try to sell your artwork on a place like Fiverr. And if you want to learn how to create an account on Fiverr and start to make money, I will link you to my video on how to make money on Fiverr. Okay, so I want to show you this. This is basically what I did yesterday in the span of about an hour or less. This would normally take someone much less than an hour, but I was learning how to do this on the spot. So if I can learn how to do this in an hour or less, you can as well. I'm going to teach you step by step how to create a digital portrait like this. Now, this is great because you can sell something like this as a logo. Someone might have a cool design business and they don't want to use their picture. They want a little cartoon of themselves and maybe the name of their brand, and something like this would work perfectly. You could sell this not only as gifts, but for companies, for logos, for someone to use as their profile picture on their website. There are so many different possibilities for this type of service, so I really recommend you try this out. So let me get started, and I'm going to teach you how you can create your own digital portrait just like this. So first of all, you're going to need to find a subject to get started. Now, don't just use any picture on the internet because there might be copyright issues. And when you're trying to sell your services, you have to show a portfolio. So in order to show a portfolio, a before and after of the original image and the image you're going to turn into a digital portrait, you can use a website like Unsplash, and these are free photos for everyone. So you can upload these as your portfolio examples without any problems. So here, let's type in, for example, a portrait of a woman, and you can browse through and look at all of these and try to pick one with some, that looks quite simple to get started. So let's say this one, for example. I've never actually tried drawing a hat on Illustrator, so this will be fun to try together. You're going to go to the top here and click download. Let's just say the medium size should be fine. Okay, so what we're going to do is open this up in Illustrator. So we can go to Illustrator. Now I'm going to go File, Open, find the image we just downloaded. So we're in Illustrator right now. If you don't have Illustrator, you can subscribe to the Adobe Creative Cloud and pay only a monthly membership. So you could just try this out for a month if you wanted to. You can click on the link in the description below to go to my affiliate link to get Adobe Creative Cloud. And depending on what you subscribe to, you will have access to all sorts of different Adobe software. So what I'm going to do is right-click on this image and click Crop Image. And now I'm going to crop basically what I want to vectorize or turn into a digital portrait. So I'm just going to click and drag on these sliders. I'll scroll down and I just want to crop this here. So once I finish doing that, click on the properties over here and click Apply. So now it will crop this image for me. So now what I'm going to do is I want to resize it. If I click on this image and go like this, it will distort it. So I want to click and drag to make the image smaller, but not distort the image. So if you hold down Shift while you drag your mouse, you'll be able to make the image smaller without distorting it. So let's say that looks good to me. I'm going to zoom in a bit. You can also zoom in by clicking Ctrl++. So what I want to do now is I actually like, as I'm vectorizing images, to duplicate the image so I can pull colors from it as I'm working. Take this image, go Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste in front. And then I'll have 2 copies of the image, and this is a personal preference. This is what I like to do. So here at the top, make sure to go to the Layers tab, and the tool we're going to be using the most to create the artwork is the Curvature tool. So what I want you to do is actually lock both of these images, so that way we're not going to be moving the image as we are tracing it. So basically with the Curvature tool, we're going to be tracing around all of the different objects that we want to make into a shape. So to use the Curvature tool, and make sure to click this tool and not the pen tool, because the pen tool is just for straight lines. With the Curvature tool, we're going to click and then click again, and then you can see that it's automatically making a curve, and we can adjust all these later, so don't worry about it being too perfect. So what we're going to do is just trace around the hat, and again, we can change all of these later on, so it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just something you're going to want to play around with. And you can see it's creating this shape around her hat, and we can change the colors and everything later on, so don't worry about this. So I'm going to go like this, and you're basically just going to create the shape around her, and then just click at the last dot when you want to finish it, and now we've got this shape here. So what you can do is pull on these points to make it match, and then what we also want to do is go to Window and go to Color, and I'm going to move this over here, and what we want to do is change the color here. So I'm going to scroll over, I'm going to click on the eyedropper tool, and then I'm going to click and turn the color of the hat so it's, a shade that I like from here. And then we're going to click on the selection tool again, and I'm going to go right click, Arrange, Send to Back. And that way we can keep creating more shapes and we won't get distracted here. And after I create a layer, I like to click the lock icon and keep going. Now with this layer, I've decided I want to create another shape around just this part of the hat because I want it to have a bit more depth and layer. So I'm going to create another shape around just this part of the hat. Again, I am not an expert. I'm just having fun with this, just like you guys are. Click again, and then again we can click on the eyedropper tool and select whatever color we want, and click on the curvature tool again, and you can make any adjustments, but we can make more adjustments later on. So right click, arrange, send to back. You could also click and drag the layer to adjust it. I'm going to lock this layer again so it's not in my way. So now I'm going to click on the curvature tool again, and this time I'm going to outline her face. Now don't worry if it doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to do it a little bit up here because we're going to move the layer to the back, so it doesn't have to be perfectly around her face because we will be making adjustments later on. And then click on the last point to close it. And again, we're going to click on the eyedropper tool and click on her, whatever her face color is. Right click, arrange, send to back, and then lock it. Okay, now we're going to work on her hair, and working on the hair is my favorite part. I'm going to click on the curvature tool again, just go around here, and what's so fun about this with the hair is you can kind of just play around with it and watch how the curves, it really works great for the hair. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be editing these later. You can click and drag, and if you want to add another point, so let's say I want to add another point here, just click on the line, and now it's created this other point. You can, just sort of drag it up. I'm going to drag it a little bit over her face because we will be arranging the layer so her face is in front of the hair. So we can just sort of do this a little bit, and that's okay because we'll be arranging this later on. Okay, and then again, choose the eyedropper tool, and we can choose the color of her hair. Right click, arrange, send to back, and then click lock on the layer. So now we're going to do the other side of her hair. Again, clicking on the curvature tool and just sort of clicking around. And we're going to have a lot of fun with this and add some more, colors and dimensions to this. Right click, arrange, send to back, and then lock the layer. So now what we want to do is click on this hide icon here to see what we have created so far. So this is what we've done so far, and it's very minimalistic, and we need to make some adjustments to the layer actually. So I'm going to move the one layer up so this layer is over the top. We can let's unlock all these layers so we can make some adjustments to them. So let's say we click on this layer here, and I need to make some adjustments so it covers this part of the hat. So I'm going to click on the curvature tool and then pull these nodes, and you can see it snapping to the guide. I'm going to add another dot here, another node here, and then just sort of make some slight adjustments here. I'm going to add another node here and pull that down over here, pull that out a little bit. If you want to erase a node, you just can click on it, see how it's the dark blue, and click delete, and it's just erased the node. Let's say I didn't want that node anymore here, just press delete and you can see it's gone back. Okay, so now I'm going to turn back on this layer here. And what I want to do is add in her neck and then some of her clothing. So I'm going to go ahead and lock all the layers again. It just makes it easier for me to work with. And now I'm going to add in her neck here. So I'm going to click on the curvature tool, and I'm going to actually put it a little bit above the neck. Now, I want to make a straight line. I don't want this line to be curved. So what I want to do to make a straight line and avoid this, see how that's become a curve? I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is hold down Alt and click again on this dot. And then when I click again, it's just made a straight line. So I know this looks a bit weird, but don't worry because we're going to be changing this a bit. So again, we're going to click on her skin color, and we can make changes to this later on. Let's just do that for now, and we'll adjust this later on. Right click, arrange, send to back, and then we're going to lock that icon. So now we're ready to do some of her clothing. First, I'm going to do this shirt here, and then we'll do the jean jacket. So again, we'll click on the curvature tool, And we'll just sort of trace around. Again, I want to make a straight line, so I'm going to click and press Alt and click on this dot on the node, and then just go down here and click again, and I've got my straight line. There we go. Again, eyedropper tool, click and pull from the color here, and I'm going to lock this layer. Now we'll do one side of her jean jacket. And now I want to do some of the details here. Send to back, lock, and then finally this other little side of the jacket here. Okay, so now we can click the visibility icon, and now you can see what we've just created. You can see I've also traced out her lips, and I did that by using the curvature tool again and just tracing around her lips right here. And then I added another object of just this small line parting her upper and bottom lip, and made that a couple shades darker than the lip color. So you can just play around with that. So remember, you can click and drag to adjust all of these layers so they're in their correct position. Mine are now in their correct position. So what I want to do first is unlock the layer that I want to edit, and I want to edit the neck right here because obviously this is not the color of her skin. So what we're going to do is click on the eyedropper tool and click the color of her skin. Now you can see that that doesn't look good because looks like it's all blending into one. So we want to create a bit of a shadow or a bit of a separation of color between her face and the neck color. So to do that, I've just clicked the eyedropper so it matches the color of her skin, but we can go over here to the color guide and we can make it a shade darker. Now that looks a little bit too dark for me. So what I want to do to give us more options, because these are the different shades. So what we want to do is click on the menu icon, make sure it says show tints shades, then click on color guide options. And here we want to make there less variations. You see as we drag this that it's giving us more options for shade. If we have it as more variation, there's a big difference between this color and this color. But if we go less, we have way more options and there's less of a difference. We can also go like this and you can see we even have more options. So that looks good to me. I'm going to press OK. And now what we can do is you can see this is the shade we have for the skin here. So we can go like this and it's just a shade less and it looks a bit better by comparison. The other thing I might want to change here is the color of this shirt because it's just a little bit too similar to the color of her skin. So you could go ahead and choose whatever color you want for this as well. So now what I want to do is add a little bit more detail and I want to add some dimension to her hair. So I'm going to click on the curvature tool again and just add in some little objects so we can have some fun creating some little strands or highlights in her hair. You can just play around with this. And then again, click on the eyedropper tool and you can locate and you can just click and sort of find the color of the highlight you want. Again, we're going to use this color guide. I'm going to click on the color of her hair and then from here, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter so you can choose a bit of a lighter tint. So you can just have fun adding some texture to the hair and again, just moving these pieces around as you want or using the selection tool to click and drag to make them longer or hover over the edge and use these arrow keys to adjust. Just have fun playing around with this. Some people with their minimalist art, they like to add in eyebrows. I sort of prefer the look with just the lips, but of course you can do whatever you like or what your client prefers. And another thing I want to show you is how you can have fun even giving more texture to the different objects here. So for example, I want to add some texture to this hat. You can see how her hat has a bit of texture. I want to try out a few effects and add in some texture to this. So I'm going to unlock the hat. I want to add some texture to this, this layer right here. So I'm going to click on the object, again, making sure it's not locked so I can make edits. So for this, I want to go to Effect, and then go to Distort and Transform, and click on Roughen. Now you can see that has made it sort of crazy, but what you can do is you can either increase it, which would be insane, or bring it down to about, let's say, 1%, and then play around with this, and it almost gives it the look of like a furry sort of a hat, which is kind of cool. And then once you're happy with it, just press OK. And that's given it this cool kind of an edge to almost look like it's, you know, a furry winter hat. And you can also give some texture to her jacket if you want. Again, make sure that the lock icon is disabled and click on the layer that you want or the object that you want to add texture to and go to Effect. We're going to go to the Effect Gallery, and here under the Texture tab, you can try out any of these different textures. I'm going to click on Texturizer and adjust the texture of his brick, burlap, canvas, sandstone. Press OK. And this is just a fun way to make your portraits look a bit more professional so it's not so 2D, but still keeping the minimalistic sort of look. You could also click on the layer and try to create some more depth by adding a drop shadow by going to Effect, Stylize, and then Drop Shadow. And just adding that gives it a little bit more depth and dimension. So you can have fun playing with all of these different effects. So now we're going to add a background shape, and what we can do is go over here to the shape tool and choose whichever shape that you want. I'm going to create a rectangular background, so click on the rectangle tool and then go ahead and drag out your rectangle that you want. Say I want to actually make a square, I'll press down the Shift key and that will create a perfect square for us. Then click and drag the square so it's at the bottom, and that way we can see the rest of our image. You can click on the visibility icon to hide the other image, so that way we're just going to be working with this image. And then you go ahead and position it however you like, and you can use the color guide to change whatever color that you want as your background image. Okay, so when you're ready to export your image, you're going to go to File, Export, Export As, and then you can choose whatever file format you want. I'm going to choose PNG and choose Export. And then here we're going to export it with this background. If you do not want to export with the background and you want it to be completely transparent, you can unclick the background. And again, File, Export, Export As, Export, and then here you can choose either a white background, a black background, or just transparent, and then OK. Okay, and just like that, you can see this really cool flat portrait illustration that we've created. Again, I am not an expert. I just started learning and practicing to create this tutorial, and I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So I really encourage you guys to click on the link in the description below to get Adobe Illustrator and really try creating your own flat portrait illustrations. This is something that you can sell on Etsy, on Fiverr. You can even put up your own ads in your community, in your buy and sell ads, and say that you are an graphic design artist and that you create custom prints and custom cards for people for birthday gifts, wedding gifts, and try to get clients that way as well. You can go to unsplash.com and get this exact same image to try to practice and replicate what I've created in this demo video. Make sure to like this video and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one on how to become a work-from-home freelancer and more video lessons on how to create your own graphics and logos. If you want any more tutorials on how to create vector illustrations or digital portraits, make sure to let me know in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.